@gmail.com.
You can't handle the truth.
Entirely legitimate topic for debate.
You have offended my family.
Hey, this is great, man.
And you have offended a Shaolin temple.
One major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
I know nothing.
I support a change in law to end federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
We don't need no stinking budget.
Homosexuality, no. Immorality in general.
How in the century you have slurred the meaning of the words we, the people.
Be warned, this is not your mother's marijuana.
You could ask yourself a question. Do I feel lucky? Or do you, punk?
I want to ask you a bunch of questions. I want to have them answered immediately.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Radical Rant.
Welcome back, everyone. 47 after the hour, and oh my God, are people freaking out about marijuana in public. Our latest story comes to us from NBC Los Angeles, where they report upon the Harbor House of Dank in San Pedro, California. They hired an artist last week to paint Christmas decorations on the windows, you know, like a lot of stores do. They put up the snowman and the snowflakes and, you know, all the little Christmassy things. And part of what their decorations included was this, a pot-smoking Santa. This is the news anchor for NBC4, pointing out the pot-smoking Santa, a typical, you know, Seven Dwarfs-looking, Disney-looking Santa with a big old cone out of his mouth. And this led to all sorts of backlash within the community. There was a Facebook page called Coastal San Pedro Neighborhood Watch, and people started posting all of their worries and all of their anger about this pot-smoking Santa display. One man posted, quote, "Have some damn sense. Kids walk by that place all the time." A woman posted, "I just couldn't understand why." And another man posted, "What do you tell your kids about that?" He concluded by saying, "I was shocked when I drove by in the morning, knowing there's a junior high school a block away." Oh dear. And again, we're talking about bad Santa here. Our bad little pot-smoking Santa painted on the window of the dispensary. And by 4 o'clock, the dispensary owner called the painter and had him scrape it off the window. Now, I don't want to discuss whether or not this was actually appropriate. Maybe it's not appropriate to have a pot-smoking cartoon Santa. Maybe that is a bad idea. But what I want to get to is why these people who get so upset about the pot-smoking Santa don't seem to have any vision as to how much alcohol and prescription pills are advertised, and sometimes using cartoon and very child-friendly iconography. I mean, I can understand why these people are upset about the pot-smoking Santa, because you got to worry, if we allow a pot-smoking Santa to be displayed in front of a dispensary, that's going to make other drug groups feel like they can appropriate the image of Santa Claus and use that to hype their own drug, their own intoxicant. And this might be confusing to children who recognize Santa Claus as the bringer of all things good, who knows when you're naughty, knows when you're nice. And if they were to see a brand name, a very popular brand name of some sort of intoxicating drug associated with the holiday of Christmas and Christmas trees and mom and dad and kids, why, they might get the idea that the use of this intoxicant, the use of this drug, even though it's legal, might be something that is okay for kids to do. And if we don't stop them from appropriating the iconography of Santa Claus and Christmas, it might lead to a confusing display where people are using this intoxicant while dressed up as Santa Claus. Kids might see this in the open public and might think that, well, gosh, if Santa Claus can use that drug in public, maybe it's okay for me to use that drug in public. And if we don't put our foot down right now and stop this dispensary from putting up its pot-smoking Santa, the next thing you know, the people who manufacture drugs will start manufacturing special versions of those drugs specifically for the holiday season. And they'll festoon them with pictures of Santa and reindeer and Christmas trees. And then the kids will think that this drug, this intoxicant, is somehow a part of the holiday. That we can't actually have a Christmas celebration unless we have some of these specially made drugs that are specially spiced and flavored to represent the Christmas holiday. So these parents are onto something because, the pot-smoking Santa in the dispensary, if we allow that to happen, the next thing you know, there's going to be some bleary-eyed, bloodshot eye, obviously intoxicated looking Santas that they'll start popping up. Because gosh, if it's okay to have that intoxicant, then I guess it's okay for Santa himself to be intoxicated. And then we're just telling the kids that it's okay. It's okay to be intoxicated and to show people that you use a drug in public. Because gosh, if Santa's doing it, then it's okay for the kids to do it. And that's why we need to stop this pot-smoking Santa picture at the dispensary. The next thing you know, the biggest dispensaries, the biggest growers are going to start branding all of their products with all of these icons of Santa and sleigh bells and sleighs and Christmas trees. And let's not forget, we're talking about a religious holiday for the majority of people in America. And while Santa Claus isn't a part of that religious tradition, he is an icon that brings people to mind about that religious tradition. We wouldn't want to have a religious holiday sullied by the idea that it's okay to get intoxicated and to use a mind-altering drug to celebrate that holiday. And yet, if we allow the pot-smoking Santa to remain on the window of the dispensary, that's exactly what's going to happen. We're going to see artists painting all sorts of prints, showing Santa Claus and showing other Christmas scenes with product placement of their intoxicating products all throughout that. And that's going to confuse the kids so much. You'll start to see these manufacturers trying to distinguish themselves in the marketplace by coming up with their own special, you might say, craft versions of their intoxicating product in order to try to sell a little more during the holiday season. And it's bad enough that we've got so much commercialization of the holiday season as it is. But now we're going to take not only the image of Santa Claus that is revered and loved and cherished by so many children, and we're going to place it on all these intoxicating products and all of these places where people can get these intoxicating products. And I know that it's for adults, right? These are products for adults, of course, but just because they're products for adults doesn't mean that we can allow them to be advertised and displayed in public, because there's children out there in public. Why, if the children were to see any of these instances of public acceptance of adult use of intoxicants in public, why, that would lead to the end of our entire civilization, wouldn't it? And I, for one, will not sit here and allow people to badmouth the United States of America. So, kudos to the people of San Pedro for making sure that the pot-smoking Santa Claus painting on the dispensary was taken down. My God, it was just a block away from a junior high school, and who knows how much damage could have been done to those kids seeing a cartoon representation of Santa Claus associated with such a harmful drug. Now, I hope the sarcasm has come through over the past 8 minutes of me talking about this. Because once again, we are seeing how it is a long road from legalization to equalization. These same people who have no problem with the Budweiser spiced ales or the spiced wines that come out, or talking about hot toddies or spiking the eggnog. It's so culturally ingrained, they don't even conceive of alcohol as a drug. They don't even conceive of alcohol as something we should keep away from the children lest their pristine eyes be defiled by the sight of adults drinking. And that's why it's always been frustrating for me as a marijuana law reformer, trying to get through to some of these people. People who would say things like, well, if they're drug testing for your job, well, you ought to just quit smoking pot. Why don't you just not smoke pot? Well, yeah, I suppose that's an option. Why don't you just stop drinking beer? Oh, because nobody's going to force you to stop drinking beer, so you don't have to stop drinking beer. And I just wish that some of these people, that we could set up a simulated reality. Set up like, you remember the Truman Show with Jim Carrey? The whole big simulated world he lived in, right? That we could simulate a world where marijuana is treated like alcohol and alcohol is treated like marijuana. And let those people experience what it'd be like to be walking down the street and almost literally on every block be able to see some location that sells marijuana. To be able to see people openly smoking marijuana on patios and outdoor gardens, right? But then also to see some dealer in a trench coat in the alley who's got some beers for sale. To see cops roughing up some kids that they caught with a 40 ounce. To see people's lives ruined, to have their cars and their homes taken from them because a search warrant turned up a bottle of Jack Daniels at their house. If they could understand, if they could see how different their lives would be if alcohol was treated like marijuana, this thing would be legalized coast to coast in a matter of a couple of weeks. Make sure to confront that blindness no matter what chance you get. Don't let them get away with loving beer and pills and not applying a different standard to marijuana. That's all the time we got. Thanks for joining us. I'm Radical Russ. Until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.